Thank you so much, Amanda, and good morning, everyone. It's so great to see all of you, seeing some familiar faces and some new faces. It's nice and bright and early here, and I just did a play last night, so the whole student of life and performance artist is all mixing in together today. um, So I wanted to welcome you all this Dharma Sunday. We're going to be talking today about Tonglen, the practice of taking and sending. Um, this practice is very, very dear to my heart and is one that I think is very rich in value, and also for many people is one that can be difficult to process because we're working with a visualization where we take on with our in breath we visualize taking on the suffering of others, and in our world and life that can be something that feels daunting or impossible, or like, oh my goodness, I have quite enough suffering on my own plate, how could I even begin to take that on? But we'll sort of be working today with um, these notions that we're dealing with both relative and ultimate bodhicitta. And so, with relative bodhicitta, that's where we work in our daily actions on our mindfulness of body, speech, and mind, on this aspiration to help others in the first place. And in cultivating this relative bodhicitta, being kind to others, watching our conduct, and sort of altruistic intentions towards others, we actually are tapping into the very fabric of ultimate bodhicitta, which is sort of non-referential compassion, which is the ultimate nature of mind, which is beyond the dualism of self and other, which has the ability to hold infinite, which is made of infinite space and has the ability to hold infinite space uh, for all things, the very fabric and being of our awareness, which has no trouble balancing and wearing many hats, which is the foundation of every appearance and perception. um, I'll kind of go more in depth about this, but we will take some time this morning to we're going to take refuge and then do a grounding and somatic meditation to bring ourselves into the space and arrive this morning into a space of receptivity. So with that, without further ado, we'll take refuge. In Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, we go for refuge until enlightened. By the power of generosity and the other perfections, may we realize Buddhahood for the benefit of all. In Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, we go for refuge until enlightened. By the power of generosity and the other perfections, may we realize Buddhahood for the benefit of all. In Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, we go for refuge until enlightened. By the power of generosity and the other perfections, may we realize Buddhahood for the benefit of all. Apologize, you're seeing some moving boxes. I'm actually moving to the East Coast. So take this moment now to find your seat, find a comfortable position, whether that's seated on the floor with your legs crossed or out, or in a chair, or whatever allows your body the space and time and availability to relax into the present moment of awareness. To the best of your ability, if you're able to keep your back straight, allowing your trunk to be upright so that your breath can easily move through your body in an unimpeded way. Imagining that there's a string going through the trunk of your body all the way through the top of your head. Keep your shoulders relaxed, your arms relaxed, your chin and lower jaw relaxed, allowing your mouth to drop down, be slightly opened. Slowly turn your attention and awareness to the natural, steady flow of breath without fabricating or altering it. Observing the steady rise and fall of an inhale and exhale. For this meditation, if you're able to, keep your eyes open with your gaze slightly downward. Or if you need, you can keep your eyes closed. Taking this moment to find your seat, so to speak. Anchoring your attention and awareness to your breath. If thoughts arise, simply notice them and let them pass through with the breath. You can label them thinking without following their storyline or chasing after them. Simply notice them and let them pass through. As we're anchoring to our natural breath, begin to bring your attention and awareness and breath to your feet, noticing any sensation in both your feet, imagining that your breath can fill the entirety of both feet, as if you're breathing in and out through your feet. Allow your attention and awareness to breathe in and out through your feet. Slowly move your attention, breath, and awareness up from your feet to your ankles and through your calf, to the entirety of your lower leg, as if you're breathing in and out through your calf and ankles, allowing your attention, breath, and awareness to fill the entirety of that space. If you notice any sensations, simply notice them and breathe through them. Breathing in and out through the sensations, your breath and awareness through your calves. Slowly raise and move your attention, breath, and awareness to your upper legs, knees, thighs, tops of legs. So you're now breathing in and out through your whole entire legs. Noticing any tension or sensation there. Simply allowing those sensations to be noticed and then breathing through them. Breathing in and out through the entirety of your legs. Move your attention, breath, and awareness to your belly. Breathing in and out through your stomach. Noticing how the breath moves that area. Simply noticing your experience and breathing through. Breathing in and out through the stomach. Allow your attention, breath, and awareness to pervade the entirety of your trunk, feeling your back, wrapping around your attention, breath, and awareness from the abdomen through the back so that you're breathing out of your back and your whole trunk. Noticing any sensations that arise, allowing your breath and awareness to anchor and breathe through them. Breathing your attention, breath, and awareness through the entirety of your trunk. Slowly allow your breath, attention, and awareness to move from there to your arms, from the tops of arms down through the forearms and hands, so that your whole arms are filled with your attention, breath, and awareness. Envisioning that you're breathing in and out through the entirety of your arms and hands. Moving your attention, breath, and awareness from your arms and hands up to your shoulders and neck. From your shoulders, front of chest and neck. Noticing any sensations that arise when you bring your attention, breath, and awareness there. Allowing your shoulders to relax, your chest to open, your throat to open. Noticing any sensations that arise and breathing through them. Slowly moving your attention, breath, and awareness from the tops of shoulders, front of chest, and throat, so that it wraps around, going up all the way to your head, the face, the back of head, top of head, back of the shoulders, entire upper body, so that your breath and awareness pervade the entire top of head, face, and upper body. Noticing any sensations that arise, simply noticing them and breathing through. Seeing as how your breath, attention, and awareness have filled your toes up through your calves, upper legs, trunk, back, shoulders, neck, chest, face, and head. Noticing that your whole entire body is filled with attention, breath, and awareness. Breathing in and out through the entirety of your body. Noticing the warmth you've generated through attending to your breath and awareness. Noticing any sensations that arise in your whole body. Allow yourself to breathe in and out as if you are breathing in and out of your whole entire body. Okay, finding a way to come back to this present moment, sharing this Zoom space together, returning to your seat, to this group we're in together. Take a moment to stretch, adjust your position, maybe have a sip of something that you have to drink. Taking this moment to scroll through and see all your faces. Really wonderful to be in this space with you all this morning. We're going to do one more brief light meditation that I always like to lead. And then we'll begin by discussing relative and ultimate bodhicitta in the context of this practice of taking and sending. So after you've had a moment to stretch out, have something to drink, find yourself again in a comfortable seated position, whether that's sitting down in a chair or on the ground or laying down, whatever allows your body to be at ease. Allowing your breath to move naturally, settling your body into a position that allows, to the best of your ability, to have your trunk upright, envisioning that string, that invisible string, coming out through the top of your head, allowing the breath to move through your body in an easeful way, relaxing your shoulders, your arms, your hands, the hands can rest on the tops of thighs, or in the pose of equanimity, like this, at the base of your trunk. Settling into the natural, steady flow of breath as it moves in and out. Begin by imagining a small sphere of light, an orb of light, resting at the crown of your head. Holding your attention, breath, and awareness through this golden orb of light at the top of your head. If thoughts arise, simply notice them, label them thinking, and pass through. And return your attention, breath, and awareness to the visualization of the orb of light. If at any point these visualizations seem cumbersome, simply return to the natural flow of breath as your anchor. Breathing in and out through an orb of light at the crown of your head. Bringing your attention, breath, and awareness from the crown of your head. Move that orb of light from top of head to your throat chakra, resting inside your throat, so that you're holding your attention, breath, and awareness to a golden orb of light resting at your throat chakra. Breathing in and out through the orb of light at your throat. If you notice any sensations, simply notice them and let them pass through with the out breath. Slowly moving your attention, breath, and awareness, move the orb of light from your throat chakra to your heart chakra, so that the orb of light rests gently at your heart. Breathing in and out through a golden orb of light at your heart chakra. Breathing in and out through this orb of light in your heart. Noticing any sensations that arise there and letting them pass through. Slowly move your attention, breath, and awareness, moving the orb of light from your heart chakra to your navel chakra. Imagining this orb of light to be resting at your navel. Breathing in and out through that area. Noticing any sensations there and letting them pass through with the out breath. Breathing in and out through the orb of light at your navel. Begin to move your attention, breath, and awareness so that the orb of light moves from your navel to your root chakra, which is resting 2 finger widths below the navel, at the base of the spine, inside the body. Imagining this golden orb of light resting at your root, the base of your spine, inside your body. Holding this orb of light with your attention and awareness at your root chakra, breathing in and out, noticing anything that arises, breathing through it with the out breath. Breathing out your attention, breath, and awareness to the orb of light resting at your root chakra, the base of your spine. Allow your attention, breath, and awareness to now move the orb of light back up through the navel, back up through the heart, back up through the throat, all the way up to the crown of your head, so that this orb of light is resting again at the crown of your head. Allowing your attention, breath, and awareness to melt the orb of light so that it fills the entirety of your body with light, so that your whole entire body is filled and made with light. Breathing in and out the sensations of your light body. Slowly allow the light to dissipate and return to your seat, returning to the space with all of us here right now. Taking a moment again to stretch and do as you need with your body. Great. So, this practice is one of this practice of Tonglen, or taking and sending, is um, a Mahayana practice. So it's from the second turning of the wheel of Dharma. And it's a practice that it was one of the 7 points of mind training, which was a great series of practices developed by the Tibetan Kadampa master named Chikawa Yeshe Dorje in the 12th century. And all of these sort of 7 slogans, I know you may or may not have heard of them, were very concise, helpful practice tools that took Atisha's 59 practices of a bodhisattva, which was basically the canonical text talking about how it is to be a bodhisattva. Bodhisattva is based in the practice of bodhicitta. Bodhicitta literally means awakened heart. And it is the belief that in order to fully awaken, to understand the true nature of our minds, the true nature of our being, that process involves um, not only becoming awake for ourselves, but in order to find true wakefulness, we should not only attain this wakefulness for ourselves, but for all sentient beings, because our wakefulness is intimately interconnected and interwoven together. Um, and that in order to fully establish this wakefulness, we have to realize the interconnectedness of self and other. Right now, we have this notion, this dualistic notion that there is a distinctive self separate from other, that those are very different things. And so this notion of ultimate and relative bodhicitta deals with this idea that that notion is inherently empty. And empty doesn't mean it is meaningless. It doesn't really exist. In fact, emptiness is another way to describe interdependence. Interdependence of phenomena means that basically various causes and conditions come together and rely on one another in order to exist. For example, a table. There is no such thing as a table without the person that chopped the wood down, sanded the wood, put together the table. The table in its own structure has different parts of it that make it a table. You see this entity, you take it for granted, you say, now that's a table. But if you removed a leg, is it still a table? Great question. So, this notion of emptiness is simply a way to describe the phenomena, the interdependent arising of all phenomena. And this is a helpful way, a tool to understand better the nature of our being, which is also interdependent. So we have this very solid notion of a of a self, right? We're like, I'm Zoe. I'm 38 years old. I have 3 children. I live in Los Angeles. My hair is brownish. But if I change my hair to blonde, am I still Zoe? Um, when I turn 58, am I still Zoe? We're always changing, and we're made of many different parts and causes and conditions that are always changing. And why does it matter, right? You're like, well, what does it matter if I think of myself as a solid thing or not? Who cares? Well, the issue with that is when we think of ourselves as this very solid, permanent thing, well, permanent, we all know we are not. The only thing we can rely on in this life for sure is that we're very impermanent. We see examples of impermanence all the time, how the time has passed. We arrived here. For me, I arrived here at 7 a.m. You arrived here at 10 a.m. Now it's already 10:45 for you, 7:45 for me. Where has the time gone? That time just passed. We experienced it passing, but that's an example of impermanence. Another example of impermanence is how you turn a year older, the seasons change. In LA, the seasons are a little bit like this, but for those of you on the East Coast, you get to see how amazing it is now as spring's coming in, the snow is melting. That's an example of impermanence. Um, so basically, we have this idea with a self. Um, we summarize all these moments and parts and interconnected aspects, and we feel very solid. And what happens is, in that illusion of feeling and being solid, we have a lot of suffering that happens because of it. It means that when things arise, we're always sort of in a sort of judgmental fight or flight mode. We're always reacting in a very basic way, like, which is also okay. It just is what is, but we're always saying, I want goodness and I don't want badness. I want to feel good. I don't want to feel bad. I want to live. I don't want to die. I want to be happy. I don't want to be sad. Um, and it means that we're relying on external causes and conditions to sort of create this tenuous feeling of solidity, happiness, goodness. It means that when we feel ill, it can be really, which, of course, the sensations of illness are uncomfortable. We can't deny that sensation or that feeling. But when we're really sort of fixated on a solid identity of one sort of like single existent self, we can really get bogged down by these feelings and sensations. And we might feel like, oh, sometimes when you're sick, you feel like it's going to last forever. Or sometimes when you feel sad, part of the worst sadness is that it's not the feelings themselves that arise because, again, they're impermanent. A lot of sickness and the feelings of sickness are impermanent. A lot of emotions are impermanent. They are like clouds in the sky. They come, a big storm brews, and then they go. But what can feel worse is sort of this meta narrative that's like, I don't want to feel sad, or it makes the sadness worse when we cling to that. And so when we sort of examine this interdependent impermanent quality, this interdependence of all phenomena, it helps to loosen the grips that make us sometimes feel a bit claustrophobic in our experience, um, that make moments feel permanent, that make us feel sort of in a cycle of not being present, but rather chasing after things that build on this foundation of wanting to feel solid and permanent. So then why is bodhicitta this, why is it the remedy? So I always like to say what the coolest part about Vajrayana Buddhism, which is the third yana, the third turning of the wheel, which contains all of it, the Hinayana, which is the first turning, the Mahayana, which is this idea of bodhicitta, the second turning. The third turning is Vajrayana. And what the Vajrayana says is, we're always already, like everything that we practice on this path, we already are. So the only reason you can become awake to your true nature is because that wakefulness is always already ever present within you, which is great news. It means that you're not sort of putting on a hat from a shelf that you have to build or that doesn't exist, or turning to a beyondness that is not here right now. You're tuning in fact, to something that is already present within you. So, all these tools and methods then are to facilitate you in this process of recognizing what's always already present within you. So, for example, this notion of like altruism, that you want to not only wake up and reduce and relieve your own suffering, but that you care enough to do that for others, is reflective of the fact that there is such thing as ultimate bodhicitta, which is this awakened heart, which is untethered from the bounds of duality, of self and other. This true nature of mine, which is ultimate bodhicitta, is free from reference. It is a compassion so deep that it has no bounds. And so when we train in just being compassionate to ourselves, being compassionate to our neighbors, to our family members, our friends, to people that we have trouble with, we're actually training in recognizing ultimate bodhicitta, which is always already compassionate beyond bounds. So it's helpful to be mindful in that way, to sort of generate altruistic intentions, because that altruism is the basis and reference point of a non-referential awakened heart that is always already there, that is our basic nature. Our true nature is loving, open, spacious awareness, free from judgment. That is our basis. So with the practice of Tonglen, we do something really wild, as if we're not in it enough with all that we deal with, aging, birth, sickness, death, the loss of loved ones, losing our jobs, dealing with financial struggles. Oh my goodness, the political situation. We're suffering a lot all the time in so many ways. It's really hard to be a human being. In this practice, we not only acknowledge our hardships, but we actually visualize taking on the sadness and pain of other people. Yeah, that might sound really daunting. But the reason that we can do this in this practice and practice it in this way is because our true nature has the ability to hold all of it. Like we may not, as lay people in our ordinary lives, really actually be able to take on the suffering of others. In fact, I really wouldn't recommend it. It is something that is one of the hardest parts of being human, right? Like you can sort of, you know, give someone condolences if they lose someone, offer them your love, but it's not actually going to take away their suffering. Unfortunately, we can't actually in real life do that. And when we try, sometimes we end up becoming martyrs and we end up actually being manipulative in some weird way. That's a whole other psychological story. But in this practice, we are generating essentially this warmth, this compassion that harkens back to a non-referential compassion that can hold all our suffering and thereby all the suffering of others, because it is a non-judgmental awareness, which means when something's non-judgmental, in fact, that is the root of suffering, is sort of attachment and judgment. So for example, you know, I have well, I guess I have a 2, 4, and a 6-year-old. So I don't know how if you've been around young children lately, but basically, um, their moods change in a way that's kind of amazing. Like my daughter, "No, you can't have a lollipop for breakfast. Sorry." She's so mad, she's so mad, she's screaming, like, "Well, that's I want one, like, why not? I want that." "Well, it's not healthy, I'm sorry, I know, you can save it for after dinner if you eat all your vegetables, blah, blah, blah." She can be so mad, she can be completely in a storm cloud, and then, like, really, like, 2 minutes later, "Mommy, blah, 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 like, I love you," as if it just really didn't happen. And in some ways, it's pretty wild. But in other ways, it reminds us that as adults, we have so much of these meta narratives at work, so much of this sticky attachment taking place, that it's harder for us to let go of our emotions when they arise. We have to create whole logical systems, like, you might have been grumpy because you didn't get enough sleep the night before, but then you arrive to work and you're feeling grumpy and you might take that out on someone. And then you have, well, the reason I'm grumpy is because I didn't get sleep. But then, you have a reason for being grumpy, which sort of gives you an empowered feeling about being grumpy. And then you hurt someone and then, well, they shouldn't be so upset because I didn't get enough sleep. It's their fault that they're upset with me for being grumpy, and then you've just created like 10 storylines and a whole framework around feelings, whereas they're simply things that are energetic happenings. They're just coming and going. And so it's kind of the meta narrative, the feelings about the feelings that make them that attachment to them that binds us to them. And so with this practice of Tonglen, I'm going to invite you to not think of suffering as such a solid entity, like you're not actually taking on someone else's sadness, but rather you're allowing yourself to cultivate this feeling of like warmth and generosity within yourself that can hold everything. So it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's suffering or joy, that you, like when we were working on that light body, right? When we were talking about, breathing in and out at the end of the visualization of that meditation, as if our bodies are made of light. Our bodies are made of light, scientifically speaking. There's different protons and neutrons and atoms that come together, and essentially you can break them all down, and we're made of so many different particles. Essentially, we are kind of made of light, various different particles. So, um, try as we do the practice not to feel like your body is such a solid entity, but rather that you are this essence that is able to hold all things: good, bad, happiness, sadness, pain, joy, equanimously, basically. Equanimity refers to this other point of practice, which is that non-judgmental space where that things arise and that you can sort of approach them with an unbiased, open heart. So we're gonna try doing this practice of Tonglen now. I'm gonna talk us through it. Um, Another purpose of Tonglen is to, uh, you know, it gives us the practical means to take our experiences on the path where our suffering can become a source of compassion, of wisdom, patience, and understanding ourselves and others. And in this process, we recognize ultimate bodhicitta, which is fundamental, pristine awareness, non judgmental, naturally open, loving spaciousness, undivided by self and other. And through the practice of bodhicitta and Tonglen, we recognize the very awareness that allows us to love and hold space infinitely. Okay. So find your seat again, whatever's comfortable for you, whether it's on the floor, on the bed, in a chair. Allow your shoulders to relax so that your arms hang down loosely and naturally. You can rest your palms, the tops of your legs, or in the mudra of equipoise at the base of your root chakra. Allow your spine and trunk to be straight so that the breath can flow naturally, envisioning the string pulling out through the top of your head. Allow the breath to naturally settle. Rest your mind briefly in a state of open, clear, spacious awareness. This is what is called flashing on ultimate bodhicitta, the mind's true nature. Pristine, clear, spacious, open awareness. Breathing through this open, spacious awareness. Naturally present, self-arisen. Now begin to work with different textures and sensations. We'll start by breathing in a feeling of dark, smoky, heavy energy. Breathing in this dark light. And as you exhale, breathe out a feeling of light, cool, uplifted energy. Begin to practice just exchanging these two breaths. So you're breathing in dark, smoky energy, a heavier energy. And you're breathing out through the out breath, cool, warm light, bright light, uplifted light. Breathe these sensations in and out completely through your pores. Breathing in dark, smoky light. Breathing out white, bright, clear light. Now move on to a personal situation. a situation in your own experience and life, a situation that's real to your experience, something that might bring you some feeling of pain or discomfort. Breathe into that feeling of tension, welcoming that tension into your body in the form of smoky light. Breathing in instead of away from that sensation of pain, breathing in that sensation of discomfort in the form of smoky light. Inviting your spacious awareness to hold it lovingly. Instead of our usual aversion to feelings of pain or displeasure, invite those sensations in and welcome them warmly. In this light body, in the form of smoky light. As you exhale, imagine that dark, smoky energy transforming into white light. And envision this light giving you joy, wisdom, happiness, and freedom from pain. Imagine the light giving you unconditional love, support, and spaciousness. As you breathe in, holding your feelings of discomfort, exhale and release them. Which gives you a feeling of love, uplifted light, and spaciousness, non judgmental love and spaciousness. Breathing in any discomfort through the form of a smoky light, holding it lovingly with your non judgmental awareness, allowing that freedom and holding exchange to allow the breath to come out, that experience to come out as light, full of love, openness, filling you with love and openness. Next, try breathing in the pain of someone you love and care about, a loved one. And as you breathe in, imagine taking on their pain and suffering in the form of smoky light. And as you breathe it in through your own body made of light, allow yourself to hold it unconditionally. And through that non judgmental reference point, breathe out, sharing unconditional love, joy, spaciousness, and goodness through the form of white light, as if you're able to share that white light with someone you love, uplifting them, bringing them joy and freedom from pain. taking on and breathing in through the form of smoky light, the pain and suffering of someone you love and care about, as if you're able to completely take it away from them by breathing it in. As you breathe it in, your ability to hold it non-judgmentally with your spacious awareness allows you to exhale, exchanging their suffering for joy, true unconditional happiness, sharing that true unconditional happiness and freedom from suffering with them, with someone you love, in the form of light through the out breath, white, golden light. If at any point this visualization feels too cumbersome or difficult to hold, simply return to the natural breath, remembering that your body is made of light and that your true nature is that of spacious awareness that can hold and experience anything. It's as if you're breathing in space and breathing out space. There's nothing that you cannot hold. Now try and think of someone that maybe you don't like, someone that you might have some aversion to, someone that might make it difficult for you. With your open-hearted generosity and non-judgmental awareness, allow yourself the spaciousness and freedom to breathe in their suffering in the form of dark, smoky light. As you breathe in their suffering, allow your open, spacious heart to take that on, non-judgmentally, generously. And as you breathe out that generosity, let that white, bright light take away the suffering of someone else completely. Someone that gives you trouble, someone that you wouldn't usually imagine doing this for. Be giving and generous in a way that knows no bounds. Breathing in the suffering of someone who may have harmed you, taking on their pain, breathing it in to your body in the form of smoky dark light, transforming their sadness and suffering with your attention, breath, and awareness, exchanging it and breathing it out as joy, freedom from pain and suffering, as if that light you breathe out is able to completely liberate them. Now you can slowly begin adding more people, people you love and can imagine, people you know, family members, friends, acquaintances, people you've seen walking by you at the store. Imagine taking on the suffering of many people, as if you have all the spaciousness, all the space in the whole world to take it on in an unimpeded way. Breathing in all their sadness, illness, and pain in the form of a dark, smoky light. As you breathe that into your body, allow that dark, smoky light to transform with your loving, spacious awareness into bright light, a light that eases their pain as you breathe out, relieving their pain, bringing them joy, freedom from suffering, as if your white light that you breathe out can liberate them from harm. Allow your mind and breath to expand to many people, many situations, taking on their pain in the form of dark, smoking light, transforming it with your generous, pristine awareness that can hold everything into light, white, bright light that gives them energy, joy, freedom from suffering, and relieves them of all their pain. As you breathe in through the dark, smoky light, taking on the suffering and pain of as many people as you can imagine, taking in an ocean of their suffering, taking it on with your spacious awareness and transforming it into white, pure light. With the out breath, imagining that you are saving as many people as you possibly can from any harm or pain or suffering. Slowly drop that visualization, and you're left with this open, spacious awareness, present, self arisen, and free. Resting in open, spacious, non judgmental awareness. And from this place, I will read to you the four immeasurables. May all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all beings never be separated from the happiness that is free from suffering. May all beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion that hold some close and others distant. The confidence that recognizes this allows you to be this. Okay, returning to your seat and to this space we share together. We'll take this time now to have a 10-minute bio break. Hello. Welcome back, everyone. So great to see you all. So Tonglen is a really, for many people, it can be a very heavy practice or bring up a lot of things. So I wanted to leave this time now to ask and answer any questions or discuss any things that came up for you in the practice or to share anything that came up with the practice. So without further ado, feel free to, raise your hand, your digital hand, and would love to hear any thoughts or how you're feeling and doing or questions, anything that came up.
Richard.
Yes. So Zoe, first of all, thank you for this wonderful teaching. It's been just wonderful to sit with you this morning and be guided through this meditation. My question is, at the end of the four immeasurables, I didn't catch fully the last thing that was said after equanimity. It might have had something to do with confidence. And
Oh,
it just sounded interesting to me, and I'd be
yeah,
grateful if you could repeat that.
absolutely. So it says, may all beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion that hold some close and others distant. And then you talking about the quote I said after that? Yes.
Yeah,
The confidence, this is actually a quote from Khandro Rinpoche, and it says, the confidence that recognizes this allows you to be this. I thought that was a great quote.
that is a great quote. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Richard.
Welcome.
Margaret?
Hi. Also, thank you so much for this. I've been long time curious about what Tonglen practice is, so I was really happy to have this teaching this morning. My question is, when I was breathing in the smoky, black smoky air, I could do that, but I could never get to the point of breathing out clear light. It was always a
Hmm.
little foggy. And then as I kept doing it, the dark that I was breathing in got lighter, and what I was breathing out got lighter. Um, it was just a strange sense that I couldn't keep the dark and I couldn't make the light, but it all sort of became the same. But I did have that sense of spaciousness, which was absolutely wonderful. So I just wondered if you had any comments on that.
Absolutely. And that's actually such a interesting, that's why I always love to hear what came up for people when they were doing the practice, because I think that that's so actually like right on in a way, Margaret, like what you did, because, in one way you can say, like, you can be very prescriptive about it, but there, like, the technique is you breathe in dark smoke and you breathe out kind of white light or whatever that is. Some people can make it golden or whatever works for you. Like, if there's a color, like, I had a student once who said, I don't know, I really love the color blue. Like, would it be terrible
Mhm.
if I just breathed out blue light? And I said, of course not. That's, if that visualization, because the visualizations, just sort of as we were doing with the visualizations this morning before the Tonglen practice, are a way to just sort of like anchor your awareness, the way, when we do sort of calm abiding meditation, you can put, a little picture in front of you, and that sort of anchors your attention and awareness. So I would say, like, that feels totally like whatever your experience is asking you, like, in some ways that alchemy is part of it, right? Because you're taking in this smoke and you're envisioning that by taking it in, you have this spacious awareness inside of you that holds it and transforms it
Mm. Mm.
into this white light. And so you kind of just had a very gradual process with that, right? Where you were like
Mm.
able to take in that smoke, and then it took time for your body, breath, energy, awareness to like transition the color of it. But I think that's lovely. You know what I mean? I think that's genuine, and I wouldn't fabricate or try and change that at all. That was great. So,
Thank
yeah,
you.
thank you for
Thanks.
sharing, Margaret.
Thank you so much for the teaching.
Of course. Caroline?
Hi. I was just building on what Margaret just said. I found it difficult because, partly because I'm a shallow breather, my natural breathing, and doing the transition from, well, the visualization to bring in someone's suffering as dark, smoky, um, whatever, uh, it takes a little while to build. And so
Sure.
I work with that. And by that time I've had several breaths because it takes me a
Yes,
minute
yes.
to really get there. And then breathing out the clear light was much easier for me because we've
Sure.
been doing the benefactor practice, and I'm in the Margaret program at Wonderwell, and I am used to that feeling of, and
Yeah,
it was very easy for me to draw up a space where I have felt clear light, and uh, so I could do that quickly, but it took me some time to get that darkness and the pain of the other person and sit
absolutely.
with that. And, doing an in breath and an out breath is very rapid. So I found that
Yeah.
more difficult.
So, I should have clarified this better. So I'm so glad you mentioned that. There is, no need to sync it up directly with one single breath exchange. So if it takes you multiple breaths to generate that, whether it's, you can, it's okay that it's, you're sort of like 10 breaths to breathe in this, you're thinking about this visualization and intention of taking on other people's pain, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
it might take you 5 breaths to think about releasing it, or of holding it and transforming it. It doesn't have to be exchanged with your in and out breath. For some people, that they find that helpful to exchange it like that, and then for other people that is not the way it works. So definitely do whatever feels best in your body. And then in terms of um sort of like, it can, take time to visualize these things that we're not used to visualizing, and or um it's a big deal. Like, you know what I mean? That's a lot to take on. I always say that this practice, I've never I've never taught this practice and it not have been, if you're a deep feeling person, that's a significant undertaking to think about doing something like that. And so all I'll say is, with any visualization in any of these practices, visualization just is, and the basis of all visualization is intentionality. That's it. So if you want to skip the fact that you even have to think of its color or that it's smoke, and you just sort of want to generate this intention of like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking in someone else's sadness, like, oh, my neighbor's dog passed away, and you just, can be really specific with it. Like, I'm thinking about my friend that has cancer. You're just sort of thinking on it. You're bringing your attention and awareness. So our intention basically is the secret gateway to recognizing the true nature of our awareness. Our intentionality shapes our universe. So just being present with your intentions, that's almost everything. The rest of it is
Okay.
just sort of like color and flair,
Mm.
like that's it. So just focus on your intention and bring your attention and awareness to that intention, and you're golden. And it can take as long as you need with the breath, and you don't have to even visualize the way I've described it. As long as your intentions are there, you will be doing the practice.
Yeah, that's really helpful. I mean, I could breathe in for several cycles of breath,
Yeah.
their pain, and then for several cycles of breath, breathe out the
Yes.
compassionate, clear light. And that's really helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Great.
Mhm.
Thank you. Okay,
Bye.
Christina. Bye bye, Christina.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate kind of that flexibility that you're using to explain and kind of the holistic like use of it. I have taken another opportunity to study Tonglen, but it was a lot more rigid on the visualization. And I think this is more like the flexibility and focusing on that intention actually is easier to
Yeah.
do. But also like for me, just practicing there, um, kind of the situation that is coming up for me that I'm most aware of, a couple other people, suffering. Um, I guess I felt like I sort of needed to have an external light, like source of light as well. So it was like taking
Mm.
in, someone's darkness, but it, especially with someone who is having like very intense pain that I'm
Yeah.
aware of, and maybe like not good boundaries about how they spread that pain to me in
Sure.
order for me to tolerate and try to metabolize that suffering. I kind of needed to also take in some external light from,
Yes.
another source, right? And just kind of
Yes.
visualizing like that I can have help to sort of metabolize the pain that I'm coming in contact with. But also I felt like that was a helpful realization too of like where I need boundaries because
Yeah.
sometimes it's like thinking of various other people that you can have compassion and you can be there and you can find that place where you're able to support them and find a calm, peaceful compassion with them. It maybe is healthier than someone that like it's just not, you can't get there because there's the pain is so unbounded or they're directing it at you in
Course.
such an intense way. So it was kind of like a reflection about how to manage when you are with someone who is really suffering and how much can you really do.
Absolutely. I mean, thank you so much for sharing all that, Christina. Basically, you mentioned quite a lot of things that are so important. One of which is, when we're doing this practice, it brings up many aspects of like relationship and vulnerability, grief, potentially trauma. And so it is really important to do whatever sort of like came to you to feel supported in that moment, right? And for you, that was finding sort of like extra light from whatever sort of source that helped you feel able to sustain that feeling of like being generous in that way, or taking on pain when it's really difficult, right? So that's a really helpful thing. So I'm glad that you shared that so that people here can also recognize, yes, you can always imagine, like for those of you doing benefactor practice, like it could be like bodhisattvas or Buddhas or like a grandmother you've loved or a mentor or teacher or guide that has served you and you feel protected, sort of like helping you to generate that light or to take on the suffering. That's all great. And then as we sort of dig into the practice and working with our minds, hold on, my golden retriever is like very sad right now. Come here, Lulu. Come here. Lulu, this way. Um, Basically, we over time also find that this like those sources are, we find a source of strength, that internal source of strength additionally like kind of grows, because it's like, um the nature of like that unconditional open spacious awareness and love inside of you, and your ability to even like seek and find other comfort sources is like a reflection of your strength. And so I share that not because others don't contain strength. We should rely on others. That we live in a very interdependent world, and it is really important to find sources of refuge and guides. Um, but just know that that strength is always already there too. In addition to that, that is also like inside of you, and that strength knows that about holding boundaries. So like FYI, compassion is very important and all that, but it is also important to recognize that in our relative world, there are plenty of situations where we, you know, cannot help people, right? We can't directly help people, or sometimes we have to do things that seem painful to help them, right? Things that will feel like harm, like people that suffer addiction in our lives or something, like what might feel like helped, what we think of as being helpful to them will feel like harm to them. There's all these things we get into in our reality, or like I have a family member who struggles with mental illness, and so I can't, Tonglen has been helpful in a way because I feel very helpless at times with her. I can't help her, and she's very much wielding a lot of toxic energy, a lot that I have to have boundaries around, and I can't sometimes even be with her because it's not healthy for me or my children. And so it's so great that I know it's also hard, and it's literally wonderful that you felt in this practice that you were able to, generate this feeling of being able to share in that way, but also that you recognize that there are spaces that you need to be protected. That's also really important. So I just want to say that I hear you in that, and that is really valuable. And if anyone tells you in the path of practicing Buddhism that you should sacrifice any safety, they're wrong. That is not what Buddhism is about. That is, we may talk about compassion from an ultimate level, but it is very ultimately important to be safe in our relative experience. That is part of it. So thank you so much for sharing. And I can see that, you're processing, and I appreciate you. Thank you. Um, yeah. Any other questions or thoughts? Something that came up in the practice? Questions you have about anything I mentioned before, whether it be bodhicitta, relative, or ultimate, or anything at all. So one of the other, oh, yes, Barbara.
Good morning. Thank you so much. So I'm in the process of integrating this experience. It's my first experience with Tonglen. I didn't even have any information about the practice at all before this morning. So I'm in something of a state of awe. Because it I have had really am in the middle of processing this. I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry.
Working a lot with benefactor practice and compassionate presence to feelings, and just this week had experience where I really sort of understood the difference between trying to hold another's deep grief, like the difference between holding it, trying to hold it as like a mother as compared to what I suddenly understood was sitting beside it as a friend,
Mm.
which has helped me a lot this week in my practice.
Yeah.
As we were doing the Tonglen practice, as you were leading that, in the middle of it, at some point, I suddenly understood what was going on was an alchemy that it was like pulling that compassion into another dimension, that because the compassion, sitting only with the compassion, there's always this edge of it's boundless. The grief is boundless.
Yeah.
Darkness is boundless. And so there's this edge of hopelessness of even if
Mm.
you're just sitting beside it, you know, it, and suddenly seeing the possibility of true alchemy is so liberating.
Yeah.
Um, so thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Barbara. Really, it's really lovely to hear. And I love hearing your processing. So thank you. And yes, I think that alchemy is a really great sort of way to address that process of what's happening. And so much of this path, especially the Vajrayana path, is about alchemy, right? So turning the path is not apart from that which we walk. Like there's nothing apart from our footsteps. You know, sometimes when we're embarking on a spiritual path, we have this like feeling of like, you know, you're either on the horse or you're off the horse. You're either on the path or you're off the path. You know, your actions are either like leading you towards the path or leading you astray from the path, right? So there's a very like dualistic binary thinking process taking place there. But within the Vajrayana path, um, we do our best to try and take on this new meaning and understanding of path, which is that there is no path apart from presence. Our presence is the path entirely. So, whatever is arising, whether it's like despair, our our anger, our pain, everything is that's what we're working with. That is what we have to look at and sort of and the alchemy that takes place is through our opening up to our own awareness, through intentionally cultivating awareness of our own awareness, we begin to recognize the the Thich Nhat Hanh always talks about, thoughts are like waves in the ocean, right? But the ocean and the waves are not two different things. The waves are made with the water from the ocean. And so basically, this alchemy of like continuously trying to just like wake up to our experience no matter what's happening and just be there the way, sort of like being just really unconditionally present in your own life allows us to settle in and transform our experience, and it is alchemy, which is just really profound and wild. Anyway, thank you. um yeah, that's basically what this practice is for, so I would recommend, yes, there is this visualization and the sequence and, where you're breathing in smoky light, breathing out white light, and you're thinking about other, people's pain and, everything that I described, right, in the visualization. But also, this is something that we can sort of use as a tool to cultivate that attention and awareness in our daily actions, like just taking a moment in the middle of the day when something's come up and you're feeling edgy or uncomfortable or just like, oh, I need to taking a moment to sort of anchor your awareness to your breath, of taking a moment to set an intention of whether it's like, doing Tonglen for yourself, like driving in a car during terrible Los Angeles traffic and, feeling a lot of anger towards other drivers who are driving unsafely. Um, taking a moment to just sort of like breathe in and be like, okay, I opening yourself up to that sort of mother awareness. That was another thing that Barbara brought up that was really interesting, this notion of like whether or not you're able to hold someone's grief or your own pain, like the way a mother holds pain versus a friend, right? Those are different places. And I think, at different times, we're all in different positions with how we're able to hold our pain, right? Sometimes we're not able to hold it at all. And then sometimes we're able to really be mothers to ourselves in times of need and mothers to others. And then other times we can't at all, but just really being present and awake to all that expression. And there's so much that the breath, intention, and awareness can do to just transform our experience. So Tonglen, one of the practical uses of Tonglen is actually for the time of death. People, if you practice Tonglen in your life, and it's something that you learn to bring comfort with, it, find comfort in, or refuge, it sort of becomes an easeful practice for you in your waking life. It's a good thing to do, like when you're falling asleep. Um, and when you're kind of, in the transition from life to death, it's a great opportunity because there's a lot of things that come up. We're very afraid of death. It feels like a big unknown. Lots of changes are happening with our body that we can have fear over. And, doing Tanlen, even when you're fearful of anything, like, if anything comes up, I would just say, like, try to do it at any time, basically, whether it's, sitting eating your cereal and your thoughts are just going all around willy-nilly, and just try it. It's an interesting practice to sort of take on at various moments in your experience, and I find it very beneficial. I want to thank all of you so much for being here with me today on this Dharma Sunday. I've really loved, as always, sharing space with all of you. I will be coming back and teaching online in July, I think, and I'll be living on the East Coast. I'll be in Vermont. So I'll be on the same time zone as many of you. And I look forward to meeting some of you, hopefully sometime at Natural Dharma when I come and teach there in person, which I expect and hope to do sooner than later when I'm over there. And if any questions arise or anything comes up with your practice, you can always find a way to reach out with me through the NDF staff. They will provide a way for us to connect. And I really look forward to connecting with all of you again very soon. With that, let's do our dedication.
And as I get that slide up, I just want to let everyone know that I'm also putting the donation link in the chat. If anybody feels moved to provide Dharma to help support the Dharma Sunday program, you can do so by clicking on that link and make sure these programs keep happening.
Thank you. May the pure, brilliant sun of bodhicitta dawn in each and every heart and mind, dispelling the darkness of suffering and confusion unstoppably until all are fully illumined and awakened.